All right, so I came up with this idea to blend two of my hobbies together into one. Well, really three, because I'm counting art as a hobby as well. But I love skateboarding. I love also sim racing or playing racing games. So what I decided was I have this full circle Ferrari rim for my Thrustmaster wheel. Now, I found out online that you can unbolt this rim, just the metal part, and replace it with just the metal part by unbolting these 6 bolts and 2 bolts in the back, and the metal rim will come off, and you could replace it with another rim. My plan that I came up with is that I'm going to take an old skateboard deck. So there's a little bit of a concave in the middle of the deck. If you haven't skateboarded before, you might not be familiar with that. There's a slight concave, but my game plan is to use the center part of the skateboard deck to basically cut out the shape of a Formula style rim, or maybe like a GT rim for my wheel, out of the skateboard deck, sand it down, get it all looking really nice. Maybe paint it so it looks like it's carbon fiber or metal or something like that. And then I'm going to bolt it to this rim. And I should be able to just unbolt these 6 bolts and then interchange between the two. I'll still have the functions of the paddles. I'll still have the functions of the buttons and everything, as long as I keep and maintain all of that exposed. So that's a really rough sketch, and obviously I ripped the paper as well. So I'm going to try to really use measurements and make sure everything's clean, nice, neat, precise. I am not a professional woodworker, but I am a little bit of an amateur woodworker. So I do this kind of for fun. But what you're about to see is not going to be professional woodworking necessarily, or professional carpentry. But it should be fun, and we'll see what kind of result we get. All right, now the next step's the fun part. We get to do the designing. There's a Lamborghini rim that I think looks cool. I was taking some inspiration from some other designs, but I also had to keep the design something that I knew I would be able to carve, because like I said, I'm just an amateur with the woodworking supplies. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw both sides, and then I'm gonna end up folding over the paper and copying one side over to the other, so that it's 100% symmetrical. But when I draw it out, I might draw both sides, or maybe I'll just draw one side. We'll see. Again, not super stressed about symmetry at this moment. Here's what we have so far. So far, everything's looking pretty good. I think it needs to be maybe a tiny bit thinner up here. Now this cutout, when I'm looking at the shape, this is what makes me the most nervous with the woodworking part. Not bad. I'm going to darken the graphite here. The reason for this is we're going to do a little bit of a graphite transfer from one half to the other. Yes, that looks so much better. Okay, that actually feels done. So now what we're going to do is our graphite transfer. Is I'm simply going to fold this paper in half, line it up as close to perfect as I can, and then I'm going to take my graphite pencil and I'm going to put pressure on the back of it, and it's going to trace this design over to this side. All right, let's check out. Okay. Both sides about equal. It is going to be handmade, so there are going to be minor imperfections in there, but the goal is to reduce those. Look at that. That is my final design. That is exactly what I was hoping for. It's lined up. Everything feels symmetrical, looks symmetrical. It's 7 plies thick. I think I'll be able to kind of drill into these bolts spots with a wider drill bit and make that part really thin right around the bolts. And then it might be thick everywhere else, but you won't really notice, I don't believe, so it shouldn't be too big a deal. The other thing I got to think about is, do I leave the exposed wood, the stained wood? It looks like this one is like a green stain of the last ply, so and then maybe like a brown or a yellow on this side. All right, so I took the grip tape off of most of the deck, and I also found my center lines for the deck. Lining this up. So that feels pretty good. That feels pretty centered. There is a little concave, obviously, that you can see. So I want that to be curving towards me. I don't know why, but that feels like it makes more sense in my head. And outline my shape. Okay, so that is all traced. It's on the board. Very clear. I can see the design on the board. So no complaints there. Cool. Next step's going to be cutting the wood. Probably going to do that tomorrow. So after sanding off the graphic and sanding off the grip tape gunk, it's looking a little bit smoother. I just need to do that to this side of the handles. The handles will mount directly on there to give a little bit of thickness to the grip, and then I'm going to shave them in. So one got really messed up. This one right here got totally messed up, but the way the bolt patterns work, it's really being held on by these three, so hopefully we'll be okay. All right, here's the situation. I was trying to do it like a sink like halfway in with the drill bit. Messed up a couple times, and I thought I could just rock with just a few of these being all the way through and only a few of them supporting. Then I messed up on a third one, and then I was like, that's too many. I'm going to jigsaw cut out this shape. Then I will recut my hole for the D-pad and recut my hole for the logo in the center. And then I will re-drill these holes but smaller. And then that will give the mounting points that I need for these 6. So it's actually going to work out a little bit better, even though I got kind of frustrated at myself for messing up. But it's going to work out better in the long run. Right, is going to, looks like I need to cut a little more off the edges there, but this piece is essentially going to sit right behind here. Alright, so what I did was use some hot glue to build up some of the spaces on the handle. It is aesthetically not pretty at all, but I'm going to be covering it up with a grip, so it does not particularly matter. What matters is that I don't feel it to be quite as lumpy, and it feels really good. Last thing I'm going to do here before I test it out is I'm just going to sand the front smooth, but we'll see. Here's the plastic plate on the end or on the back side, glued as well as screwed, so it should be strong. Next time when I use black grips, I will probably put the tape, I'll probably do this in reverse and try to aim for the tape to be at the bottom. I think it'll be a little less distracting visually. But here I think we might be done. If I were to close my eyes and just feel the grips, I honestly would not be able to tell you that it was man-made. I mean, not man-made, everything's made. I would not be able to tell that it was homemade. Obviously, it's a skateboard, so it's very strong, but I can't twist it. There's no flex. The grip feels very symmetrical. It feels really good. Pretty stoked. All right, so shifters, pretty easy to get to. Buttons, not bad. Easy there. Full access a little bit kind of close there, but it's not really an issue. Buttons there, good. The only real issue is it is difficult to get to the D-pad. I would imagine that if I shape this out a little more, I could get to it a little bit easier. Let's get it mounted up to the base and let's give it a try. So this is the first time I've turned the wheel on. Everything mounts up. There's no wobble at all. You can see the table's moving. When I move it with my hands, the table's moving before the wheel does. So this is incredibly strong. Plug the wheelbase in to the Xbox. Perfectly centered, all looks as it should. Now let's see if the buttons work. Yes, they do. It's like there's a little bit here that is not super symmetrical. That's just from me being an amateur cutting with the jigsaw. So I'm probably gonna go in with some rough grit sandpaper and kind of get this even. Could be cool to do some sort of like shifter mount, like a shift light here. All right, let's do yellow livery of an LMP2 to match the yellow steering wheel. All right, so it's noticeably lighter than the metal wheel, which I think in theory I should feel the force feedback more. Not 100% sure about that, but everything's working as it should. Feels sturdy, feels strong. Seems like it works. Classic invalidate in the last sector. It feels super sturdy. Honestly, it feels perfect. Alright, so choosing a track from the Grid series, but modded into Automobilista. Automobilista is known for its force feedback, and this is a road track, so I would imagine I'd be able to like really test how I can feel the surface. Again, yellow and yellow. Look at that. That was unintentional. That's nice. You can see that art up there. Never driven this car before. So a lot going against us, but that's okay. It's all about what we can feel. So you can see there, I have really good feel over the body weight of the car and what it's doing, what the wheels are doing. It's a cool track, even though it's like a fictional track and it's a mod. I've also never been to San Francisco in real life, sadly. The wood is a little... Yellow flag. The wood is a little bit lighter than my metal rim. Lovely. So my theory is that because this is lighter, I'm able to feel a little more of the force and that the weight would maybe deaden it. And maybe I can feel the torque a little bit more. Just a theory, but it feels really good. It feels like a wheel you would buy when it's in your hand and when you're not looking at it. Obviously I can see that it's wooden when I'm looking at it, and I can see like crafting mistakes that I made when I'm visually looking at it, but when it's in your hands and your eyes are on the screen, you really wouldn't know. And it just feels really good. Like this is really enjoyable. Can feel it catching slides, right? On cold tires. Have never, I don't know, I'm not that talented of a woodworker, so to be able to make something like this without cutting my fingers off, to make something that works, to make make something that like actually makes my experience a little bit better. It's not just gimmicky. It's quite cool. Oh, caught that slide. I can now see the bottom part of the screen, right? So if I had a shift light here, mounted here, I mean, that'd be pretty sick. Whereas with the full wheel, this would be so scary in real life. Whereas with the full wheel, I could not see that part of the screen right there. I wouldn't be able to see that. Now we're going downhill, apparently. It's a fun track. I might try to practice this track a lot more. This would be a fun track to run a race on. So I'm super hyped. I mean, this is like perfect. Alright, so what my goal is now is they sell just the back part, the little plastic back part to the wheel. They sell that on eBay, or not eBay, Etsy. Some people just 3D print them for like $10 or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy one and get this wheel put on there. I will use this for rally games like Richard Burns Rally. It won't have any button functionalities, but when I'm rallying, I literally never use the buttons for anything. I have a shifter, which I can put in sequential mode, and I could also, and then I also have a handbrake. Let me quickly show you. Well, the handbrake will be for another video because the handbrake's made out of an old skateboard as well. So yeah, that's it. This is done. And maybe I'll think of something to put over the Ferrari logo here since I'm not like a huge Ferrari follower. That's it. I'm hyped. It works perfectly, honestly. So I'm super hyped.